Uncertain as to how to begin this book, I simply set the pen down and began to form a word. It's a rare sentence that is known before comes the period. Each sentence is the result of uncertainty, even when it appears that what is said has a good chance of being true. We suppose truth to be something self-evident, yet we know appearances can be deceiving. It's a matter of practice and devotion to the practice. We cannot see truth till we begin to sojourn in its region. In the same way, the beginning of this book is made without knowledge of the end. It is a dialogue between two, for it is a deeper dive into uncertainty when the present is composed of two and not one. For my part, I tend to prefer long paragraphs, which do not need to be closed. I never was good at closing a paragraph, but it doesn't hurt by trying. Lover's voice weaves in and out of view among the rocks and trees of nature and of social intercourse. I have stated my intention to woo you, and in telling you this, I don't feel as if I've given up my fire. In these pages, you will see my intention sooner or later. So I may as well tell you in advance. You may as well know as not know. This information, coming in the form of advance, will give you an advantage. You express the need of something to make your writing come up to the level of mine. So it should help you to know my intention, my one-pointed intention. If you like, you may form a one-pointed intention too. I'll leave it up to you whether or not you wish for me to know it. If you prefer to keep me guessing, I shall accept this condition. If you prefer to tell me, I will accept this condition also. As you like it. I'll take any opportunity to take each in the clearing where I think. I'm glad you like this idea. And well, you might, inasmuch as you are so certain that this dive into uncertainty is the way to live. The result of our penned dialogue is by no means certain. This much is certain, that we do this from desire, you for me and I for you. Now, as for how to start writing, the best way is to jump right into the water and start swimming, just like Forrest Gump did. There's no plan to this. It just flows from moment to moment, from day to day, from week to week, and so forth. I have no doubt about your strength to put yourself in these ruled lines. All they are is lines, and so is the wiggly one that flows now in blue, royal blue ink. Sometime I may use pencil or maybe even a little watercolor. Why not? And you may, of course, do the same. Try to eliminate the fear of babbling. Just accept the undeniable fact that we are made to babble. What are we? Gods already? We are allowed to be vague or weak or cryptic, just as in sex it all counts, not just a part. I like to start to do nothing because I like everything to count, even nothing. The barest little love caress is felt so deeply. It all counts, even the tellings of it, the telling of the nothing. So don't delay, but start to write even before you finish this paragraph. So go ahead. What I write here can easily wait your eyes. I write for the moment of reading, just because writing is that way. Time dissolves in the act of writing and the act of reading. If I write more than you do, it just means that I am more used to it as an everyday thing. So this will lend itself to giving you the courage to write. You see, my casual way with words, this is just for the pleasure of it. Why worry about what lies beyond pleasure? The daylight now fades, but I still see some patches of sunlit ground on the east side. George has not yet arrived, or so I guess, since I looked and saw no car when I went outside to pee. Thanks for all your reassurances about sex. I hated to beg for these, but from myself doing that anyway. It was part of the flow, my not wishing to appear other than I am. I am not worried very much now. I am trying to put into practice the art of complete detachment. I want you, so I let you go. It is not strange how the words I use can involve themselves in everything we do. The same goes for the words you use. We say we have a common language, yes, but this statement seems to beg for qualification. That we speak in succinct tones and in succinct phrases is all to the good, and that we pay attention to punctuation is also all to the good. In fact, we have generally added much refinement in the course of time, even though we may have forgotten a thing or two. Now, you and I have had quite a few years in which to absorb some factualities. Take love, a fact, is it not? We make love out of the spring of our desire. And what can contain desire if not the human frame? Love as a factuality from the heart is something to reckon by. We have, each of our two selves, our private certainties. They may be frail, they are there, but I am digressing. That's okay. The factualities which you hold firmly or weakly to, and those which I gather in my mind's snares set for the capture of wild truths, are numerous, colorful factualities are there for you and for me to look at. At times, these factualities are seemingly too much there. At times, there are only traces of long-forgotten events, tiny, almost microscopically small events, like a shoelace breaking. I'm sorry for George that my teepee is so close by to where you are both trying to plumb the depth of your past life with him, which ended when he divorced you. I see it as it begins to play itself out in the words that pass your lips, the way, the how. Here I am writing while you are alone with this dear man who is suffering a terrible mistake, and you also suffering. I'm up here and I try to avoid thinking in your vicinity, but how can I? I guess I'm a bit jealous. Oh well, I have to let that go, and by this act of writing, I'll use this jealousy as an opportunity to achieve my one-pointed intention, wooing you. Yes, I am a lot like a child. When I discovered through my reading that the bright kingdom belongs to a child, I was curious to see if I could not retain the essential character of childhood, to be more serious in play than an adult is in work. Seriousness, so I like this attitude and use it for many things. For example, this way of writing. This is not something strange. This is writing. It appears to be an ordinary little collection of ramblings, but in my case, I write for the sheer pleasure of it, and only secondarily expect the results to be useful to you. To intend usefulness defeats it. Incidentally, some of the most respected scientists are not so much working as they are playing. Science has a bad reputation now only due to its overuse among most people. Even good things can be overdone. Having said this, I now feel my writing as slowing down. You know, I can get carried away. You have expressed your timidity to write. Well, that is a great place to begin from. Would I complain and then receive a punishment for complaining? a loud, aggressive beginning, whatever. Whatever you say will be from the heart, which I adore. Or maybe you see my eyes as too critical, and that I would criticize some aspect of your writing. You will write, and I will write, and we'll just see what comes of this little devotion. For writing is a devotional thing, like meditation. It is one-pointed. Literally, I just watch this pen tip and control the pressure and movement in accord to the words as they come, one by one. Not being a fully enlightened being, my mind is full of memories, both pleasing and sorrowful. Also, I have leanings, desires, fears, hopes, and the dream of being an artist. What is an artist, and how can we know an artist as an artist? By the work of art? How do we know when a work is a work of art? When you came to see me this morning to touch bases, I was just about to smoke a cigarette, which I was in the process of rolling. I caressed you lightly and was glad for the opportunity. After you left to go back to your cottage by the pond, I ate some dry oatmeal, a slice of cheddar cheese, and the remnant of bread I bought 2 weeks ago. Also, I made tea in the thermos, which already held hot water, heated or on Nancy's stove while we watched a segment of the film House of the Rising Sun. I may have this title wrong. I ought to take one of the vitamin C which you gave me, which Terry made.
Oh, Terry.
The sun is out at the moment, and I'm feeling pretty good, thanks to the prospect of this sentence, here, now, being before your eyes. I'm so at ease that I can tell you I love you and then go on to other things, as there is a lot to say, and love is expressed in the saying of other things. ... Want to hear a coincidence? Well, after I brought you the spiral brown book and got this one in exchange, the first thing I wrote in this book was your name. But there was only enough ink to make the M, the A, and a very faint R. To see whether the reservoir was empty by pushing the piston down. The reservoir was completely empty, and the nib was dry. So evidently I used the very last of the reservoir while I wrote the last word in the spiral book. And I was not aware of writing while so low on ink. So by coincidence, I started this book with a full reservoir of royal blue Schaefer. This is an old Pelikan pen. It is interesting to have this coincidence and others like it. And by the way, I seldom go anywhere without my ink bottle. I don't want to run out of ink. I have a lot of paper at hand and a lot of ink too. It's a good thing if you like to write. The writing could go on without feeling the need to condense and edit. When I first picked up the book to begin to write, I had a feeling that there was a limited supply of paper. I even thought of writing with a smaller hand. I could easily reduce the size of the letters. That's no problem. Those are written really small. But I kept the larger hand, mostly because I like to look at it, and secondarily it can be seen easily by the light of a single candle. I don't want to strain someone's eyes with too small a hand, and it does feel, after all, that I have plenty of paper. This is a very gentle format for the kind of writing. I rather like it, and I think of keeping it. I can carry a smaller bag. It occurs to me to ask you right now, while you are bogged down in this extended prose, whether you like these little periods of restful rambling in which I say little nothings. I hope that these little nothings fail the heavier stuff or create a buffer, any kind of relief from the cadence of philosophizing.
Oh.
Until you return the spiral notebook, I have no other paper except this. Well, I have drawing paper and watercolor paper, but I'd like to reserve that for drawing and painting. So the quicker you return the spiral notebook, the less will I write in this stitch-bound book. Wow. Luckily, I'm about to stop writing for now simply because I have been sitting cross-legged long enough and I need to get my legs going. To write longer now, I would need a better amount of sitzfleisch. Well, after the last observation, I adjusted the pad beneath me. I was sitting on only half my butt. Balance is important. But I hesitate to quit right now, as I don't know when I can get back in. It is a blessing to pick up the pen and begin writing, and I seem to want a lot of this blessing. What shall I write about? I must have a subject now. I think I'll talk about, shall I say something about my ex? Our time together was not always pleasing to me because she often forgot, if she ever knew, that I have a devotion to painting. At those times, she would think of me as a parasite. We had plenty of money, at least we owned our home and all our cars. We had no payments due except the utilities and the taxes. We had an income from Social Security in the amount of $500 per month. That was a
large
legacy due to Lily having been born while Sharon was still married to Dr. Eugene Leprechaun, who was an old man, professor emeritus at the University of Vermont. I was stated as the father of Lily, but the law allowed that she could receive Social Security benefits through Eugene, the legal husband of Sharon. Now these are being used by Sharon and Denny, of course, to provide care and a happy home for Lily and Edward. Sharon wanted to work as an RN to keep her license current and ended up as a nurse in the Alzheimer's wing of Valley View Nursing Home. She grew fond of many of her patients, withered and bent little children. I worked occasionally, but tried to keep my mind on painting. It soon became apparent that I would not bring in much money through the sale of my paintings. The fiasco of at Lady Berkeley Art Gallery was a blow. I thought that I had at last found a gallery which was sincere, when it turned out to have been insincere and my work was deemed amateurish. Oh. Sharon and I agreed that the future of my sales in this region of the country looked bleak. We considered the possibility of my return to the university to get a degree so that I could earn a living through teaching. I balked at that, despite the fact that I would have loved to be a student again. Throughout my school years, I was always grateful to be in school. I quit school because I was restless to begin to be a true painter, out in the world on my own. I went to museums as often as time and travel permitted. I read books on art and artists. I was immersed in the seemingly small world of painting. I was frustrated and lonesome because I had no peers.
You had no what?
Peers.
Oh, peers.
All along in our marriage, Sharon would start fights for nothing. I smoked a cigarette behind her back. I got mud on the floor. It fell from my boots. I remarked on the beauty of another woman as an artist. It was absurd for her to call me a leech and a scum, but she did this often, and of course that was a form of spousal abuse. We can hurt others by the way we speak to them. After 10 years, I finally realized that she actually believed that I am a leech and a scumbag. She fell in love with the dishwasher who lived in the forest who often played chess with me. She asked for a divorce, and I felt relieved of her. I signed the papers, giving her everything I owned, except my art books, my paint box, an old washing machine, an old sewing machine, an old truck, a few tools of my trade, carpentry, and my cameras. I gave her an old Indian rug, Navajo, made in the 20s, large and valuable, about $100,000. This was in lieu of alimony. I wasn't aware at the time that she and Denny were lovers, or nearly lovers. I can't be sure. If I had known about that, I would have argued to keep my rug. She is so damn greedy. Really, I have no love for her in my heart. I look at her objectively with no desire to caress her, none. In a way, I'm thankful that Denny was hitching a ride with me. He didn't solicit the ride. I saw him just walking, and that he provided for my relief. That's how Sharon got to know him. I invited him to the house a few months after our initial meeting, that cold, dark, snowy winter night. As he was a good chess player, I found pleasure in his company. So did Sharon, who grew closer to him, doing all kinds of favors for him. I wasn't jealous because I figured that Sharon was faithful to me sexually. I figured that because of all the grief she gave me if she caught me noticing the beauty of another woman, I figured that if she was so jealous, she must also be faithful. Besides that, it gave her a friendship that she lacked with me. With Denny, she could listen to all old songs on the 8mm audio cassette and to record and records and CDs, music that I was never interested in. I was not curious why Denny was so good at chess at the start and so bumbling at it toward the end. Now I know why. He had his mind focused elsewhere, not on the chessboard. I just wanted to beat him at chess and keep beating him. The last games were futile. He just resigned when his pieces were outnumbered. Now when I ask to play a game of chess, Jenny just says he's not interested in chess anymore. It comes and goes. Fine. Marjorie, I'm going to keep writing as long as I feel like it, even if I fill most of this book. We can always get more blank books. You admire me for my copious writing, but I want to keep this book for my part, in line with my stated intention. I give you some of my past so you won't see there a void. I too had a life before we met. If you love George as you do, it is good to remain friends with him. It happens that Sharon and I go back almost to where you and George go back. It seems to me that you were luckier than I, insofar as George gave you a better mate than Sharon gave to me. You had some sweet years with George. Of course, I had some sweet times with Sharon too, but the verbal abuse I received from Sharon was what I remember most about her. At the time this verbal abuse was happening, I did not know that I was being abused. It seemed manly to forgive her every time. The way our life together ended was different from the way yours and George's life ended. I mean, your divorce. He was good to you, and then suddenly he left you for another woman. This left you feeling shocked. I, on the other hand, felt it coming for years, having time to adjust. In the time since my marriage failure, I have had the opportunity to be myself with no sexual relationships. With the exception of Elaine, who I almost made love to, I have not held a woman in my arms.
Who's Elaine?
I don't know. I've wanted to, of course, but I had opportunities to seek a sexual relationship, but I was determined to wait until I was in love. I'm happy that this was so. I was free to love, and I not dissipate that opportunity with a casual or non-romantic affair. I seek true love where a bond is made between the hearts. There is not sufficient interest for me in non-romantic sex. You might be wondering how I could have been passionate with Sharon. When she was nice to me, she was very nice. I even felt turned on by her fatness. It's amazing to me how that was the case, because now I am turned off. The vibes she gives off repelled me. That's fine. It makes for total separation. I no longer want to be intimate, not even a little bit. I no longer want to talk with her to find out why we split. It's just so obvious to me. I just don't love her. Sexual desire is the most important ingredient in a marriage. It's the force of sexual desire that gives love its substance. Marjorie, I feel this desire for you. I feel your desire for me. So we have this most important part of a sexual relationship. But I want more than sexual relationship. I really want a marriage. I want to keep you informed of this so you may understand why I say what I say. Marriage is supposed to be something done with a vow, a pledge. The state of marriage is supposed to guard and protect lovers from uncertainty. We marry in order to be certain we will always find love. Just recently you found out that marriage does not really guard lovers from separation. More than that, it doesn't even provide a basis for love. One doesn't love just because one is married. As we seem to be very happy together, you may be wondering why I would seek a marriage with you. I'd like to be able to tell you why. I still believe in marriage despite the failures in marriage which I've been a part of. If you take the line of thought that marriage is counter to a life lived in uncertainty, which you have decided in this path of life, you will see marriage is something to avoid. So no matter how deep and sincere my proposal may be, you are bound by yours. Maxims of uncertainty to always say no. Curt, no. I wonder how close you are to saying yes. I wonder whether there is a thorough ambivalence here. It making little difference whether you say yes or no. If there is not this ambivalence, then you are certain of your answer, no. If there is ambivalence, then you are never going to be certain whether you will say yes or no. If ever I should get the courage again to ask you again, will you marry me? For my part, I must wait for the right time, the time when you are not certain to say no. I'll be searching for clues to your ambivalence about marriage. For why would I ask you again if I felt certain that you'll say no? I have to wait until such time arrives when I think you are uncertain, when you could answer either way, yes or no. It would take little courage to ask you if I felt certain that you would say yes. I'd rather not wait that long if I have the courage to ask when you are uncertain. In the middle of my love for you, I stop and pause, and I'm grateful for this solitude while you focus your attention upon your continuing relationship with your ex. It gives me a good opportunity to ponder this thing I have about marriage.